video that I wanted to watch. How players bullied a multi-million-dollar company and won the Honkai Star Rail 3.0 developer notes. Now, this is most likely talking about the balancing issues and how to fix old units. But for a while there were a lot of people saying Honkai Star Rail was fine. It doesn't need any fucking changes. Just leave it as is. And people were attacking anybody who's saying the game is bad. But we're actually getting meaningful change in the game, which makes me very, very, very happy.
Meltdowns, Honkai
Allegedly. They could fuck it up. They could fuck it up, but we'll see.
Star Rail has actually responded to player criticism regarding Update 3.0. I know, shocking.
Balls.
A gacha game developer listening to feedback, and not just that, Hoyoverse, that billion-dollar company that is known to not have good communication with its players.
Once again, providing good, critical feedback has saved the game once again.
It is practically a historical event, and let me tell you, the reactions have been hilarious on this.
However, Hoyoverse has shown us a lot of nice things in the past. Things like Genshin's artifact selector.
This tidbit in my story review. So, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It's looking like they listen to me.
Mr. Pokey is out here doing the gritty over St. Tontas because the rank 1 Kuro bot didn't think this day would ever come.
Well, the problem is that, yeah, doesn't it sound so nice? Doesn't it sound so wonderful? Oh yeah, don't worry, we're gonna fix the game, we're listening. Well, number one, why'd they do that? Let's just be real, we know why they did that. And second of all, are they going to fuck it up? Now, from the patch notes that I've seen, their leaks, if they implement it the way that they say they're going to, or that is leaked to be implemented, then it actually could be good. It was pretty decent buffs for 3 characters, 2 mediocre buffs for other characters. Not all buffs are going to be the same, but for 3 of them, it could be quite good.
If you had Hoyoverse addressing player concerns on your 2025 bingo card, congratulations. You just won a great achievement in gacha gaming. But jokes aside, credit where it's due. HSR devs actually acknowledge their mistakes and promise changes. That alone is a win. However, imagine if this were Genshin Impact. We would be witnessing something completely different.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.
Thank you?
You're welcome.
What? No. I didn't.
Dude, I can't wait for Genshin Impact to get artifact loaders and get like a glider system. They're not going to get a glider system. And then say, yeah, you're welcome, guys. Bro, the only reason why you're doing that is because Wuthering Waves fucking made you. You're not doing that of your own accord. And that's the thing that I don't give a fuck about devs. I don't give a fuck if you're listening when you don't have to. Sure, the only time I give a fuck when you're listening is when you don't have to. When you're listening out of a necessity, I truly don't care.
Chat, he'll guarantee 20
Why would I ever say that? I mean,
Maybe 23 polls as an apology, but putting them at the second half so you can't use it for the new limited banner characters. Or if we're really lucky, the CEO himself bursting into tears on a live stream because the players dared to criticize them. So yes, progress is happening.
That will still go down in history as one of the most pathetic displays a CEO has ever put on. Guys, I talked to 4 Genshin players on the train, and they said that they didn't like my game. I cried for 15 minutes. So, can we please have $10 million for Malvika banner, please? We really need it.
But before we start celebrating, let's talk about why this happened in the first place. Let's be real, HSR fans essentially bullied the devs into change. And guess what? It worked. This is what happens when players hold developers accountable instead of worshipping them like they can do no wrong. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, isn't that toxic? Well, absolutely not. Bullying a multi-million-dollar company into fixing their predatory practices and low-effort content is not only justified, it's necessary. If no one complains, nothing changes. Simple as that. Because let's be honest, gacha games thrive off of complacency. They bank on players either being too loyal or too exhausted to fight back. And we saw that a lot happening in Genshin Impact. Now, there's nobody taking the survey seriously, and a lot of them are really content with absolute trash filler patches.
Bro, the survey was a fucking joke. I actually put out a video on that. Dude, every single question these companies asked was already answered in the question that, or in the statement that came after. The reason why the survey was so pathetic is because for every single question that the developers were asking their players, they had already been like, oh, so you didn't like this? Oh, and you would want us to do this instead? Oh, you don't want the banner to cost $300? Oh, you'd rather have it for $0? Oh, I never knew. That survey felt like your fat fucking girlfriend knowing they look like shit in that dress they're wearing. but they want to ask you just to hear you say it. It was so dumb. It really felt like it's a sad, pathetic ex-girlfriend.
But now we're seeing what happens when people actually demand better, and that is a huge step forward for the gacha community as a whole. With that being said, let's not get too carried away. I've read the dev notes, and while some of the changes sound good on paper, I can't lie, it feels way too overhyped. There's still a lot room for improvement, and frankly, I don't trust these companies enough to take everything at face value. So let's break this down. What is actually changing, and is it enough? Now this right here, this is the change that actually got people hyped. According to the Chinese dev notes translated by none other than Mr. Pookie himself, older units
They're probably wrong. You know what's crazy? Mr. Pokey has become such a shill for Honkai Star Rail. Guys, what if he's just lying? Like, we got the guy who is the most biased individual in all of Honkai Star Rail to translate it. Dude, verbatim, it probably says, nah, we really don't care, go fuck yourself. But Mr. Pokey, I mean, telling one little lie. Who's to know?
Units will get buffed, not replaced with
see in
new
3
shinier
months.
5-star versions. They are straight up buffing the characters themselves. So unless I'm blind or Hoyo's lying, which let's be real, wouldn't be the first time, this means they're acknowledging a major
What if they were just lying? That shit would be crazy. I mean, they're clearly not, but if they were, that'd be hilarious.
issue in Honkai Star Rail's design. Old units becoming completely irrelevant. And funnily enough, if we all just accepted that terrible take about how power creep is a player issue, not a company issue, we wouldn't even be getting this change. So I have to ask, is Mr. Pokey going to admit that he was wrong? Or
No. Now, if he did issue a public apology, then maybe this peace, love, and happiness arc could happen. But, yeah, that just ain't gonna happen.
Or are we all just pretending that never happened? But hey, this calls for a celebration. But before that, let's pump the brakes for a second. Because if we know Hoyo, it's always going to be a disappointing change, yo. Sorry for the back joke. I think it's going to be a tiny buff, just enough to make them feel better, but not enough to actually make them competitive with the newest releases. Why?
Well, one of the buffs for one of the characters is actually something that I was suggesting since day one. I also agree the buffs probably aren't going to make them crazy, but I do think a lot of them will make them viable. Like, for example, a change that I've been asking for since patch 1 of Honkai Star Rail was Yang Jing's follow-up proc shouldn't be a chance, it should be a guarantee. That's an example of something where it will help a lot. However, it's not going to make him broken in any regards, but it'll still be a welcome change.
Because making old units too good would hurt new character sales, and Hoyo is not about to risk that. If it's a major buff though, then
True.
I'll applaud them. Because right now, let's be real, there is absolutely no reason to pull for rerun characters unless they're absolutely cracked like Runmei or Robin. And before
True.
you argue, let's be honest with yourselves. If you're actually trying to clear endgame content efficiently, would you ever pull for a rerun unit? No, because the next broken 5-star is always right around the corner. That's the entire reason people don't roll on reruns unless it's a must-have unit. Most of the time, the endgame revolves around the newest characters anyway. I mean, look at what Beherda can do this patch. She is tier 0 in all endgame modes at E0S0. This buff announcement though, it actually gives hope to people who want to use their old favorites. Players who have been around since launch, who pulled and invested in these characters, only to watch them slowly rot in the corner of their account because they're just not viable anymore. But, and this is a big but, if you know what I mean, Hoyo has a long history of pump faking its players.
Thought this guy was gay. Why didn't he like a female ass?
So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Is this going to be a genuine buff or just another sinister tactic to bait players into spending again? If they're actually going to
I mean, Hoyo is doing a really good job with Honkai Star Rail for making players believe there is a more fortunate outcome around the corner, and I do believe in them. I think the Fate collab can be very, very, very cool. That's probably one of the coolest collabs that Hoyoverse has ever done. The Horizon Zero Dawn that Genshin Impact had was fucking shit, and we all know it was shit. But Fate could be cool. The only problem is that some characters in Honkai Star Rail are kind of already seeming like they are already characters from Fate Go. Like, My Day is very similar to a character in Fate. So I'm thinking they'll probably do skins or cosmetics of the characters rather than just give them an actual character, which I think would actually be better than releasing them into the game, because I'll be real, Genshin Impact, a game that's built on cohesion and world building, felt very weird where it's just like, well, now this Ginger's in the game. You can't ever get any of her constellations, but yeah, she's there, so you can use her, I guess.
to buff the characters directly, I'd be shocked, you know? Given Hoyo's track record, I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into another round of, oh, we meant buff as in give them an exclusive new light cone that you can get in the gacha banner or something. Well, so yeah, great news, but I'll believe it when I see it. So
Nah, I do think it's going to be character kit reworking.
the devs have finally acknowledged what every Honkai Star Rail player already knew. The main story has way too much exposition and reading fatigue. Congratulations, guys. It only took thousands of players button mashing cutscenes like they were speedrunning a visual novel to realize this. And in my opinion, and a lot of others, HSR has an incredible story, but its storytelling is really bad. Like painfully bad. It's like if someone had the most epic high stakes tale to tell, but delivered it in the most monotone, boring voice imaginable.
Well, what's crazy is that now that I'm playing a game called Limbus Company, do you guys know Limbus Company? We all know Limbus Company here. I'm realizing that storytelling is important, sure. However, it's not make or break of a good story. Limbus Company is a pretty much glorified light novel at this fucking point. And the story is still good because standalone, the story that they're telling is interesting. It doesn't matter if it's being told by two fucking sock puppets. If it has stakes, if it has drama, if it has drive, if it has reason, every story will be good. However, a lot of the yapping in HSR is fucking pointless. And I'll be real, before they hired that new fucking Japanese dude from Honkai Impact 3rd, the story was infinitely better. Belobog was infinitely better. They hire this one guy. Everyone's saying, oh, dude, just wait. The story's going to become so dark. Yeah, man. It's so dark because Gallagher and Misha never existed. Oh, man, I'm shaking in my size 12 custom baby seal leather boots. That shit was a joke.
Oh wait, they're not even voiced. And what is the solution? Less talking and a partial skip feature? Wow. So instead of a 10-hour story quest, it's just 9 hours. How revolutionary. Yep. But here's the real issue. Not all players are here for the story, okay? HSR has always been a gacha game with a built-in identity crisis. It caters to casual players who just want to pull for cool characters, but it also expects those same players to sit through EO tweet length dialogue dumps. And that's just not happening, my guy. I mean, look at me. In Genshin, I pulled for Mavuka. I built my team. But you know what I didn't touch? The story. Not because it's bad. I mean, it's subjective, right? I mean, listen, putting a motorcycle in a region with no roads couldn't be that bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be real, man. In some country, people like having sex with goats. It's subjective, man. That being said, yeah, I don't really care much for it. I don't really care much for it.
Sorry. It's like putting chocolate on pizza. It shouldn't go together, but it can be good for someone, right? Anyways, it's not because it's bad, but because staring at 10 hours of text is intimidating. And I know I'm not the only one. Plenty of players treat the story mode like an annoying
You know what's crazy? Limbus Company stories are 5 straight hours of pure straight yap, and I enjoy every second of it. So maybe if they were to just simply give us stakes to the story, people would buy in a lot more. I like where anything can happen at any time. It feels good.
Side quests they'll get to eventually, but never actually do. In fact, I know a couple of friends who pay people to do these quests for them. And that to me is just really, really pathetic, Hoyoverse. So
True. I think it's a problem where the only part of the story that people enjoy is the highly animated cutscenes. I think that's a massive red flag where people can't enjoy the static yap because that's 95% of the entire story. And they really need to refine on that. And they say they are, and I want to believe them.
while I appreciate the effort, I'm not convinced this is a real fix. This is just a band-aid and like a samurai slash rune. This is insane. And let's talk about the infamous black screen and white text issue. Nothing says immersive storytelling like dramatic music playing over a void of nothingness while the game dumps paragraphs of exposition on you. It's like watching a cutscene in an audiobook. Wow, what a horrible metaphor. These black screens aren't even voiced. The devs...
Why, you only hate the screens because they're black, huh? Wow, showing your colors, Glaive.
Said that they're going to
I know
replace
your
the
ass is
system, but
Chinese,
how?
too.
Are they adding actual cutscenes
fool
or are
me,
we just
brother.
getting a slightly fancier still images with text? Because let's be honest, if their
22%
grand
of
solution
these
is
get pissed
glorified
right now.
PowerPoint slides, then this isn't really a fix at all. A much better alternative, let's say Zenless Zone Zero. That game has great storytelling format. It actually understands pacing. It uses cinematic angles, character movements, expressions, and visual cues to keep dialogue engaging. Instead of
Here's my hot take. I think the way that Honkai Star Rail delivers its story via yapping would be fine if the story was good. And the only reason why we're noticing it now is because the story's not good. And Penacony, it was fucking pain. Alcony. And Belobog, it was the exact same, but we were invested because it was good. It's my opinion.
of throwing a wall of text at players and expecting them to care. If HSR
Wall of text are fine if the wall of text is interesting.
took notes from that, then we'd be talking about a real improvement. But for now, cautious optimism. Maybe it'll make a difference, or maybe we'll just get more still images of Aglaia looking mighty fine, while a dialogue box explains the activity I did with your mother last night. Who knows? Then we have the puzzle fixes. All right, finally, a win of common sense. The devs admitted that puzzles were too long and interrupted the story's flow. And you know what? That's exactly what we needed to happen. Listen, if
You know what's crazy? I actually completely disagree. I think the puzzles were a really nice change of pace to break up the monotony of the yap. I think them getting rid of the puzzles is actually worse for me. But yeah, it was a nice fix. However, it would be nice if they were optional to go do.
If I'm knee deep in the dramatic moment, if I'm immersed in the story because of the black and white text, I don't want to pause for 15 minutes to play Professor Layton, but worse. If you want hard puzzles, make them separate challenges, not forced roadblocks in the story. This is a fundamental design principle that somehow gets ignored in gacha RPGs.
Yeah,
and
good
before
point.
anyone calls this dumbing down the game, let's talk about my favorite game, Wuthering Waves. Because even in the very early stages of Wuthering Waves, like the Yinlin companion quest, that game lets you solve a puzzle if you want to, but also gives you an easy way out if you don't feel like doing it.
that's
That is
great.
how you handle puzzle design in a story-driven game, or rather, a story quest in the game. Give play
Well, let me give you another example of a great gacha game that does puzzles right. And this game, I shit you not, has some of the hardest puzzles in all of gacha games. Let me spit my shit and let me tell y'all about a game called Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Puzzle dungeons that you can do when you want, and if it's too hard, you can talk to Choco Cat or Karumi or Cinema Roll, and they'll say, "Is this puzzle too hard for you? We'll solve it for you if you want." And it auto solves the dungeon. You get the rewards, but it won't show you how they did it. That way you can just get your rewards and move on. And if you want to come back, you can. Hey, all I'm saying is, bro, Hello Kitty Island Adventure is gas, bro. I can't help that y'all don't get it. Straight up. I can't help that y'all don't get it, bro. I can't help that y'all are weak-minded and you won't try that shit, bro.
players an option to engage with complexity, not force it down their throats, like what I did to your mother last night. Also, can we talk about the meme? Apparently, they made this change because of Gacha Smack. If you don't know,
Rare Techie W. I'm going to be real with how often people say Rare Techie W. You might as well just change that shit to comment at this point. All these other takes that these content creators are saying, where y'all say base to, just understand, I was the first one saying it. Let's just be real. Y'all praise these fuckers for now finally getting the shit I've been saying for 4.5 years. You're welcome, by the way.
Gacha Smack became the talk of the space for a little bit for complaining about the puzzles, spending too much time on it. And apparently now he's basically single-handedly responsible for this update, which is hilarious, but also proof that voicing concerns actually works. Here's the bottom line. Criticizing games isn't complaining. It's about making them better. This
True.
dev note, it proves that they listen. Your opinions matter. Your voice matters. But you know whose voice doesn't matter? The people who blindly defend these companies
All voices matter, guys. All voices matter.
no matter what they do. They don't reward you for it. They don't thank you for it. There is no loyalty program for being a corporate lapdog, but holding them accountable, that benefits both you and them. It forces them to fix issues, improve the game, and ultimately create something you actually want to play. So yeah, keep calling those things out, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be getting these changes at all.
True. So what this video meant is, Mr. Pokey, you need to go live and apologize and say that you were wrong. Say that you were wrong. Say that if you think that HSR has a power creep problem, you're right, and I'm sorry. And I look forward to that tweet. If you want peace, love, and happiness, tweet it out, big man.